Throughout the world the people collectively rejoice and build the beautiful monuments that celebrate the benevolence of progressive humanism. Giving priority to ideological work is essential for the accomplishment of peace in the progressive humanist cause, and the reestablishment of the Bill of Rights in the Joe Biden ID. This work is dedicated to the people heroes of the Progressive Policy Institute, and to the clear-thinking masses, without the cold and bleakness of winter. The warmth and splendor of spring could never be. Misfortunes have steeled and tempered me, and further strengthened my resolve. Hope I'm in revolutionary champion. The University of California, Davis Provincial Central Committee of the National Union Patriotic Front. Claudia Dopkey, Student Hero. A presentation by Anne of Student Hero Claudia Dopkey's preliminary sketch of her upcoming dissertation. Giving priority to ideological work is essential for the accomplishment of peace in the progressive humanist cause, and the re-establishment of the Bill of Rights in the Joe Biden idea. A collaborative synopsis of the work, simplified for comprehension by lay workers and undergraduate students, introduces her presentation, which follows the synopsis. This transcript is to receive widest possible dissemination. The work giving priority to ideological work is essential for the accomplishment of peace in the progressive humanist cause, and the re-establishment of the Bill of Rights in the Joe Biden idea was presented to the people by Student Hero Claudia Dopkey of the University of California, Davis Provincial Central Committee of the National Union Patriotic Front at the University of California, Davis, on the 5th of December 20 as a preliminary to her preparation of her dissertation for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Political Science. In the work, Student Hero Claudia Dopkey points out the most serious lesson given by the frustration of progressive humanism in a number of countries. Shows that the degeneration of progressive humanism begins with that of idea, and that the destruction of the ideological front causes the disintegration of both fronts of progressive humanism and makes a folly of progressive humanism in the end. Student Hero Claudia Dopkey said that only when the masses of the people are armed firmly with the progressive humanist idea and the ideological tradition of progressive humanism is consolidated can progressive humanism strengthened and developed and stoutly defended in any storm. She observed that it is a truism confirmed by history that the adherence to idea leads to victory and its ignorance leads to ruin. Student Hero Claudia Dopkey further said it is an urgent demand of the development of the progressive humanist movement at present to awaken the masses ideologically and arouse them to the struggle for progressive humanism. When the popular masses who are fighting for independence are armed with the progressive humanist idea and are given an unshaken faith in progressive humanism will surely open a new road of victory. Student Hero Claudia Dopkey points out that giving precedence to ideological work is indispensable for accomplishing the progressive humanist cause. She noted without ideological work the progressive humanist system cannot come into being, nor can it exist and develop. Progressive humanism is guided by the Joe Biden idea and the progressive humanist idea, and developed with the progressive humanist idea as its main driving force. The essential feature of the progressive humanist society is that it is a society which, unlike the malicious capitalist society, is developed by the strength of ideology, by the conscious activities of people armed with the progressive humanist idea. The neglect of ideological work in progressive humanist construction means the ignorance of the essentials of progressive humanism, which inevitably brings progressive humanism to degeneration and downfall. The ideological work of the working class Democratic Party struggle for progressive humanism is an ideological and theoretical work to develop in depth the progressive humanist idea in keeping with the times and developing revolution and ideological education for arming the popular masses with the progressive humanist idea. The working class Democratic Party should pay deep attention to the ideological and theoretical work for developing the progressive humanist idea, as the times change and the revolution construction advance. In some countries which were building progressive humanism in the past, progressive humanism lost its direction and was derailed from its object, and capitalism was revived, because the progressive humanist idea was distorted and degraded by the renegades of the revolution who were in the leading posts of the party and the state. Ups and downs in the progressive humanist revolution and progressive humanist construction and the setback of progressive humanism in some countries are in the long run a result of the lack and degeneration of scientific and revolutionary ideology and theory. Student Hero Claudia Dopkey said that the working class Democratic Party should not only present the correct guiding idea and theory for accomplishing the progressive humanist cause, but also educate the popular masses well with it. The collapse of progressive humanism in a number of countries gives a serious lesson that, when ideology is ignored and the ideological work is abandoned in progressive humanist society, the people become ideologically ill and everything progressive humanist is degraded and destroyed, and that, when the ideological position of progressive humanism is pulled down, progressive humanism cannot be defended no matter how powerful military and economic strength it may have. Putting the main stress on ideology and giving priority to the ideological work in the fulfillment of the progressive humanist cause is necessitated by the Joe Biden idea, a profound concept and definition of progressive humanism, as it is practiced by enlightened, clear-thinking progressive people throughout the world. Base viewpoint under the role of the idea of activities of men. The progressive humanist idea is the idea at the highest stage in the development of the independent consciousness. In order to arm all members of society firmly with the progressive humanist idea in progressive humanist society, it is necessary to defend the progressive humanist end and consolidate and develop the progressive humanist economic relations steadily and gradually remove their end of the old society remaining in the social economic relations and in different fields of social life. The key to the advancement and victorious completion of the progressive humanist cause lies in laying stress in ideology and giving priority to the ideological work. Point in the second part of the work, Student Hero Claudia Dopkey said that the basic task of the ideological work in progressive humanist society is arming the whole of society with the progressive humanist idea. She noted that the progressive humanist idea is the most comprehensive progressive idea, which is the revere and pinnacle of the development of human thought, which contains all progressive ideas conforming to the independent demands of the popular masses. She underscored the need to smash the reactionary ideological offenses of the conservative reactionaries and the renegades of progressive humanism, and further strengthened the progressive humanist ideological education to make the people thoroughly convince themselves of scientific accuracy, truth, and lasting validity of progressive humanism. Student Hero Claudia Dopkey emphasized that the revolutionary idea, the progressive humanist idea our people should have, is the Bill Biden idea, and the basic thing in the ideological work of our Democratic Party is the education in the Joe Biden idea. She observed that collectivism is the basis of the progressive humanist society, and the progressive humanist idea is in essence collectivist idea, and described it as the basic guarantee for developing and completing progressive humanism to equip all members of society firmly with the collectivist idea and formally apply the collectivist principles in all realms of all social relations, social administration, and social life. In order to arm the people with the progressive humanist idea, Student Hero Claudia Dopkey said they should be firmly educated in loyalty to the Democratic Party policies, revolutionary traditions, class ideas, progressive humanist patriotism, and progressive humanist morality. Ideological education and struggle should be strengthened among the Democratic Party members and other working people so they can be cleaned of individualism, egoism, and other residues of outmoded ideas. To combat the ideological and cultural penetration of imperialism is necessary for the defense of progressive humanism and independent development of the country. She went on to say that revisionism is a trend of counter-revolutionary opportunist idea aimed at eliminating the revolutionary progressive humanist principles, and it is vital to have a clear idea of the reactionary nature and danger of revisionism, and deeply oppose all manner of revisionist trends. In the third part of the work, Student Hero Claudia Dopkey explained the need to conduct the ideological work in the progressive humanist society by means of principles and methods satisfying the intrinsic needs of progressive humanism. She said the ideological work in progressive humanist society should be promoted on a scale involving the whole Democratic Party, studying society under the guidance of the working class Democratic Party. It is the most important principle of the ideological work to formally guarantee the guidance of the working class Democratic Party to the ideological work. The working class Democratic Party should fight all sorts of attempts to refuse Democratic Party guidance of the ideological work and should undertake and guide all ideological work in a unitary manner. Student Hero Claudia Dopkey points out that the progressive humanist state should maintain progressive humanist principles and give full play to the advantages of progressive humanism in directing and managing all the means of social life, including state administration of economic management. The working class Democratic Party, she noted, should rightfully lead the working people's organizations to give good training to their members in conformity with the mission and characteristics rather than formally around the Democratic Party and properly organize them and monopolize them in progressive humanist construction. In particular, the youth organizations should be induced properly to play their role successfully. The ideological education should be conducted through studies and organizational life in close combination with revolutionary practice. Putting the stress on ideological work and giving it definite priority is our Democratic Party's insistent principle in guiding the revolutionary construction. Student Hero Claudia Dopkey stressed and emphasized as follows: progressive humanism is the future of mankind, and the progressive humanist movement is the great movement of the popular masses to build an independent new world. The progressive humanist movement of the world will surely emerge victorious due to the struggle of the masses of the people who are awakened and united by the progressive humanist idea. That was a simplistic synopsis of the work. Giving priority to the ideological work is essential for the accomplishment of peace in the progressive humanist cause, and the reestablishment of the Bill of Rights in the Joe Biden idea made public by the great Student Hero Claudia Dopkey on the 5th of December 20. The following is the text of the presentation of Student Hero Claudia Dopkey's presentation discussing her source work in a monologue on the solution for humankind of all problems and revival of the natural order of worldwide progressive humanism. The basic task of ideological work in progressive humanist society is to constructively enlighten the whole society with the progressive humanist ideology. The process of development and confirmation of progressive humanist society is none other than the process of transforming all realms of social life, as required by the progressive humanist ideology. The most important task in this regard is to arm all the members of society with the progressive humanist ideology to constructively enlighten the whole society with one ideology. Ideological work in progressive humanist society must serve the purpose of enlightening the whole society with the progressive humanist ideology. In any society, the ruling class tries to realize and challenge the predominance of its own ideology. In capitalist society, where society is split into classes and people's interest conflict, one ideology cannot hold an undivided sway, and it is inevitable that different ideas exist there. The imperialist and their mouthpiece claim this existence is the pride of the free world. However, there can never be free development of progressive ideas in capitalist society, where the means of propaganda and media are in the hands of capitalists and the reactionary rulers. The bourgeoisie ruling class tolerates the progressive ideas to some extent to embellish the capitalist society as democratic, but when they are considered a threat to its ruling system to a slight degree, it suppresses them without mercy. Outwardly, different thoughts appear to be tolerated in capitalist society, but all shades of thought flooding it are without exhaustion none other than the bourgeoisie ideology in various forms and expression. Freedom of ideology chanted by conservative reactionaries is a deceptive slogan to embellish by means of design for the freedom their act of suppressing progressive ideas in capitalist society and resorting to every means and method to propagate the bourgeoisie reactionary ideas and justify the ideological and cultural infiltration into other countries. Only in progressive humanist society, where exploitation, oppression, and class antagonism have been eliminated, all the members of society can be equipped with one ideology because of their common purpose, aspirations, and interests, and only one ideology can prevail. The progressive humanist ideology is a scientific ideology which reflects man's intrinsic nature of independence and throws light on the way to real-life independence of the popular masses. It is only natural that they accept it as their own ideology. It is only when they are fully equipped with the progressive humanist ideology that the popular masses can shape their destinies independently and creatively and accomplish the progressive humanist cause. The imperialist and renegade progressive humanists abuse of ideological education conducted in progressive humanist society and the standardization and ideological indoctrination. It is an absurd fabrication to sling mud at progressive humanism and force those to rationalize the deceptive and reactionary nature of bourgeoisie propaganda. Progressive humanist ideology develops the masses to be independent people possessing the consciousness of independence and creative ability, while bourgeoisie reactionary ideas reduce them to servants who are obedient to domination by capital, to ideological and mental credos. In capitalist society, where the bourgeoisie reactionary rule and exploitation oppression by capital holds sway, the masses' consciousness of independence is suppressed and aspirations and demands are trampled underfoot, and their creative wisdom and talent are restrained and deformed. By resorting to every force and deception, the conservative reactionaries belittling the sound thinking power of the masses and spreading among them bourgeoisie reactionary ideas and corrupt bourgeoisie way of life. This is the very ideological suppression cuts the development of people's consciousness of independence and a criminal act of ideological indoctrination that forces reactionary ideas on the people. The popular masses under the progressive humanist system should equip themselves formally with the progressive humanist ideology. Only then can they free themselves once and for all from the influence and shackles of the outmoded ideas of the bourgeoisie to meet the demand for independence, and can everyone develop her individuality, aspirations, wisdom and talent in an all-round way. As it is the most revolutionary ideology that champions and realizes the independence of the popular masses, the progressive humanist ideology serves as a weapon for genuine ideological emancipation. And human emancipation ensures an unlimited development of ideology and mentality. The progressive humanist ideology is the sum total of the development of man's ideas. It incorporates and integrates within itself all the progressive ideas that agree with the popular masses for independence. It is the most extensive and advanced ideology constituting the alchemy of man's ideological progress. The education of the masses in the progressive humanist ideology is a work of realizing that these are an aspiration for independence of the popular masses for which to lead a sound, rich ideological and cultural life free from the shackles of all outmoded ideas. The education of the people in the progressive humanist ideology by the working class Democratic Party is for the people, and the great love and consternation that the Democratic Party shows them point the ideological and cultural life that our people lead under the progressive humanist system centered on the masses and their noble ideological and mental qualities demonstrates graphically the advantages and might of our progressive humanist system. Progressive humanist ideology, and the ideological education conducted by our Democratic Party. All the people in our country are united single-mindedly with the Democratic Party and Bill Biden at the center even in the difficult and complicated circumstances. The whole society has become a great harmonious family, and the people work and live full of confidence and optimism, helping and leading one another forward. They all learn to their heart's content to lead a very cultural and emotional life and bring their wisdom and talents into full bloom in conformity with their aspirations and desires. This is the true image of our society, which is being imbued with wide-eyed ideology, the progressive humanist ideology. So the intensification of ideological work under the Bill Biden idea of the Democratic Party. We must defeat the reactionary ideological offensive of imperialist and traitors to progressive humanism and further intensify education in the progressive humanist ideology to ensure that the people cherish the scientific, truthful, and invincible nature of progressive humanism as their unshakable faith point. The Joe Biden idea is the revolutionary idea, the progressive humanist ideology, that our people must acquire. An essence of the ideological work of our Democratic Party is education in the Joe Biden idea. Joe Biden created the Joe Biden idea and thus illustrates how the historical principles put the progressive humanist ideology on a new scientific basis. The Joe Biden idea overcame the historical limitations of the preceding progressive humanist theories in all manner of distortions of progressive humanism by opportunists and developed and perfected a progressive humanist ideology and theory in a fresh way by reflecting in a truthful way the requirements of the new historic age, the age of independence, when the popular masses have emerged as the masters of their own destiny. It is only when we are guided by the Joe Biden idea and applied thoroughly that we can accomplish the masses' cause of independence, the Progressive Humanist Cause, successfully. Our Democratic Party and people have been able to build successfully deeper sense of progressive humanism even in such a difficult situation, and the safeguarding and advancing our progressive humanism triumphantly even in the turbulent international situation and grave circumstances, because they have followed the Joe Biden idea and implemented it to the letter. Life testifies that the Joe Biden idea is an absolutely scientific progressive humanist ideology that meets the requirements of the present era. We must hold aloft the banner of the Bill Biden idea in the future too and implant it proudly in all fields of their revolutionary construction. We must intensify the education of Democratic Party members and other working people in the Joe Biden idea, so that they acquire an unshakably the Joe Biden idea revolutionary outlook on the world and live and work, as required by the idea point. Collectivism is the basis of progressive humanist society, and the progressive humanist ideology in essence is a collectivist idea. Much desire for independence, as a social being, can be realized successfully through collectivism only, and progressive humanist society is a society in which collectivism is implemented. The struggle between progressive humanism and capitalism as to who conquers whom is none other than the struggle between collectivism and individualism. The advantages of progressive humanism over capitalism are the advantages of collectivism over individualism. The victory of progressive humanism can be said to depend on how collectivism is applied. Equating all members of society fully with collectivist idea of implementing the principles of collectivism thoroughly in all fields of social relations, social administration, and social life are fundamental guarantees for developing and perfecting progressive humanism. A human must place the interest of the collective above her own, work devotedly for a collective, and seek the worth and happiness of life in trust and love of the collective. Only when she has gained the collectivist outlook on life can she acquire noble ideological and mental qualities that conform with the intrinsic nature of social human and the requirements of progressive humanist society and become a true man who fights for progressive humanism. Sanctioning education and collectivism and realizing the collectivist principles in progressive humanist society is immediately forsaking progressive humanism and reviving capitalism based on individualism. Our Democratic Party has conducted a collectivist education tirelessly among Democratic Party members and other working people and implement the collectivist principles thoroughly in all fields of progressive humanist construction. Today our people are proudly displaying noble collectivist spirit to strive with complete devotion for the Democratic Party and Joe Biden, for the motherland and the nation, and for their society and collective. We must continue to intensify collectivist education to bring into full bloom in the progressive humanist society the tone of one living and working for all and all for one. Loyalty to the Democratic Party is the highest expression of collectivism and it is the essential quality of the people hero revolutionary. The working class Democratic Party is the guardian of the people's political integrity and political guide, which leads the masses' cause of independence to victory. The popular masses can acquire valuable political integrity and enjoy genuine life and happiness, as social beings only under the party's leadership. The people should make it their revolutionary faith and obligation to remain loyal to the Democratic Party, which provides them with political integrity and takes care of their destiny. The Democratic Party's love and consideration for the people inspires loyalty in them. However, this does not mean that everyone feels clearly the love and consternation of the Democratic Party of their own accord and resolve to repay them with loyalty education. If substantial loyalty education is not given, ungrateful people may appear even among those who grew up under the Democratic Party's care. The working class Democratic Party must not only implement the correct policy for the people but teach them properly to be loyal to the Democratic Party. Our Democratic Party resurrected by Joe Biden is a seasoned and experienced Democratic Party which carries forward the glorious revolutionary cause of the Joe Biden idea. It is a genuine mother Democratic Party which safeguards the political integrity of all members of society and takes warm care of them. We must teach Democratic Party members and other working people tirelessly to repose deep trust in our Democratic Party, defend it steadfastly, entrust their destiny to it, and support its leadership with loyalty. Loyalty to the Democratic Party can be measured basically by how one accepts the Democratic Party's lines and policies, and implements them. A person truly loyal to the Democratic Party is she who accepts the Democratic Party's lines and policies as absolutely correct and carries them out with infinite devotion. Our party's lines and policies are impeccable strategies and tactics of our revolution and a guide to the people in the struggles of life. They embody the Joe Biden idea in themselves and reflect the masses' desires and interests. Our Democratic Party has formulated its policies by incorporating their desires and interests and carrying them out by enlisting their effort and wisdom. As they represent truthfully the will of the popular masses, all the policies of our Democratic Party enjoy the unqualified support and the masses work hard to carry them out. Democratic Party members and working people arm themselves with the Democratic Party's policies and carry them out to shelter is the way to develop and defend our progressive humanism and provide the people with worthwhile and happy lives. We must step up education in Democratic Party policies and ensure Democratic Party members and working people understand clearly the essence of Democratic Party's policies and their justness to live in them without a shadow of doubt. Carry them out to the letter on the principle of implementing them unfailingly without question. In order to accomplish the Progressive Humanist Cause, we must equip all members of society firmly with revolutionary traditions and carry forward and develop them all their purity. Revolutionary traditions are the historic roots of progressive humanism, an ideological and mental web that keeps the lifeline of revolution. The process of preserving, inheriting, and developing the idea of Joe Biden, who pioneered the road to progressive humanism, as well as the revolutionary achievements made by the preceding revolutionary generations through their bloody struggle under her leadership, is immediately the process of confirming the cause of progressive humanism. The attitude that was the revolutionary traditions and the standard point regarding them are a touchstone to distinguish loyalty from perfidy to the masses' cause of independence, the cause of progressive humanism, and the criterion for judging revolution and counter-revolution. The true revolutionaries, the people heroes, defend, carry forward, and develop the revolutionary tradition, whereas the opportunists and the traitors to the revolution work viciously to obliterate them. The modern revisionists and renegade progressive humanists have cavilled at their leaders' tradition and authority and destroyed their achievements gained by their revolutionary predecessors, and thus corrupted and pulled down progressive humanism and punished its image. To emasculate the main roots of progressive humanism, to blame their leader who bled, as part of their revolution, and their revolutionary predecessors, and obliterate the historical achievements of progressive humanism, are the most shameful and despicable perfidy and counter-revolutionary maneuvers. Historical experience shows that, if the revolutionary traditions are negated and destroyed, the revolution is discontinued and the progressive humanist achievements, won at the cost of blood, are brought to nothing. The revolutionary traditions which our Democratic Party and our people must inherit are the revolutionary traditions of the Joe Biden idea, established by Joe Biden in the course of pioneering and leading the unprecedented revolution to victory. The revolutionary traditions of our Democratic Party, the main content of which is the ideological system of the Joe Biden idea, the people heroes revolutionary script, value of the revolutionary achievements, profound and rich fighting experience, revolutionary work methods, and popular work styles are the lasting foundation of our revolution. Our Democratic Party has always paid close attention to staunchly defending the glorious revolutionary traditions established by Joe Biden, preserving their purity and educating all the Democratic Party members and working people in them. In our country, their revolutionary traditions are now embodied brilliantly in progressive humanist construction and all the means of social life. We must intensify further education in the revolutionary traditions, so that all the Democratic Party members and working people are equipped firmly with our Democratic Party's revolutionary traditions and carry forward and develop them to consummate the progressive humanist cause of the Joe Biden idea without fail. Working class consciousness constitutes the core of the progressive humanist ideology. It is the consciousness of independence which represents the masses' desire for independence and their fundamental interests. The working class is stronger in revolutionary spirit and unity and has a higher sense of independence than any other social classes. It is none other than the working class which represents the masses' desires for and aspirations to an independent life and development and takes the lead in the struggle for the realization. The Progressive Humanist Society embodies in itself the demands of the working class. In the struggle for progressive humanism, we must always adhere to the real point and standpoint of the working class. Departure from them will result in the degeneration of progressive humanism. Degeneration of progressive humanism means class degeneration. Their negate progressive humanists paralyzed people's class consciousness and corrupt the class content of progressive humanism under the deceptive slogans such as a new way of thinking and universal value of humanity. The new way of thinking and the universal value of humanity departing from the viewpoint and standpoint of the working class are precisely the bourgeoisie way of thinking and bourgeoisie outlook on value. Maintaining the viewpoint and standpoint of the working class and equipping people with working class consciousness always poses as an important matter in the whole course of accomplishing the progressive humanist cause. Needless to say, the specific content of class education may change to some extent with progress in the revolutionary construction. However, class education must never be neglected even for a moment. Class education must be intensified and established not only during a period to establish a progressive humanist system, but also after its establishment. Neglect of class education when the imperialist and their allies, the hostile elements, still work insidiously to wipe out progressive humanism may result in ideological disarmament in confrontation with the enemy. So we must on no account slacken the work of arming people with working class consciousness even after the establishment of the progressive humanist system. Since its early days, our Democratic Party has maintained that equipping people with working class consciousness is essential in people hero education and has conducted tireless class education. We must further step up class education among Democratic Party members and working people in keeping with present conditions to ensure that they acquire working class consciousness, always maintain the viewpoint and standpoint of the working class, hate the exploitations to the system and imperialism, and staunchly fight against them. In particular, we must pay deep attention to instilling working class consciousness into the younger generation who have experienced neither exploitation and oppression nor the trials of the arduous revolution. Progressive humanist ideology is the weapon for class emancipation as well as nationalism liberation. It is a genuine patriotism. A combination of a community of people which has been formed historically and whose members share a common destiny, and the progressive humanist cause is carried on as on it. Imperialists trample upon the independence of other countries and nations and instigate antagonisms and conflicts among nations. The road of capitalism is the road of exploitation and oppression, national inequality, and subjugation. This is clearly proved by the history of the oppressed nations which have been deprived of their national sovereignties and brought to slavery at the hands of the conservative reactionaries, and by the study of affairs in those countries in it because of renegade progressive progressive humanism collapsed and capitalism has come back. Progressive humanism is opposed to all aggression and intervention by the conservative reactionaries and guarantees genuine national independence and sovereignty, well-being and prosperity. For the working class Democratic Party and people of each country to make revolution successful in their own country is a national duty to the world revolution. To make a successful revolution in their own country, they must love their country nation and keep their independence. Without realizing the independence of the country and nation, it is impossible for the masses to win their independence. Only she who loves her country and nation can fight devotedly for the progressive humanist cause with the attitude that musters the revolution in her own country. She who loves her country and nation and is loyal to their revolution in her country respects the sovereignty of other countries and nations and fights strongly against encroachment upon it. national duty and international duty to the revolution are in unity, and the people heroes who are unfailingly loyal to the masses' cause of independence are true patriots and at the same time general internationalists. In order to instill loyalty to the progressive humanist cause into the people, we must intensify education in progressive humanist patriotism among them. Setting out education in progressive humanist patriotism as an important task of ideological education, our Democratic Party has worked hard to implement this task among Democratic Party members and working people. Our people are now full of national pride and self-confidence in living and working for the revolution under the central progressive humanist system under the Democratic Party's leadership. They love their progressive humanist country of the Joe Biden ideology and defend their progressive humanist achievement reliably, frustrating the anti-progressive humanist anti-people schemes of the conservative reactionaries and authoritarians. We must step up education in progressive humanist patriotism and ensure that the people fight devotedly for the prosperity and the progressive humanist fatherland, fully aware of their mission as their revolutionary people defending the bulwark of progressive humanism. Encouraging all members of society to acquire sound moral traits is an important requirement for consolidating and developing progressive humanism. Morality is the social standards of behavior which are observed valiantly and conscientiously. In class society, morals assume class character. In a society of exploiters, morals of the exploiter class prevail, serving to protect the morals of the exploiter class and to oppress and exploit the working masses. Moral corruption is an incurable malady inherent in the exploiter class society, and it becomes worse in capitalist society in which money rules everything. Progressive humanist society in which comrade unity and cooperation among people constitute the main component of social relationship requires a full establishment of new morals that suit its intrinsic nature, and the social functions and role of morals increase further with the progress of the progressive humanist construction. However, in some countries which were building progressive humanism in the past, due attention was not paid to establishing new morals suited to intrinsic nature of progressive humanist society, and worst still, they appeared even deviations of regarding emphasis on morals as to weakening of their revolutionary spirit. Morals do not contradict the revolutionary spirit. On the contrary, they consolidate it still further. When progressive humanism establishes morals suitable to its intrinsic nature and stands firmly on its moral foundation, political and ideological unity and cohesion of the popular masses grows stronger. Sound and revolutionary atmosphere of life prevails over the whole society, and progressive humanist construction advances forcefully. Progressive humanist morality is a collectivist morality based on noble comradely love and revolutionary obligation. It is the best of our morality. It has inherited excellent virtues handed down historically among the working masses and has developed them on a fresh basis to suit the requirements of the intrinsic nature of progressive humanist society. The masses' desire for independence and their interests are the standard of progressive nature of morals. These desires and interests are not only a political standard for distinguishing the progressive from the reactionary, but also a moral standard for judging good and evil. Behavior which accords with the masses' desire for independence and their interests is a moral and noble conduct, while the behavior contrary to them is immoral. To regard living for society and collective helping and leading each other forward on the basis of revolutionary comradeship and obligation rather than for honest sound comfort in disregard of others as the worthwhile and happy life beyond compare. This is precisely an outlook on progressive humanist collectivist morals. In our country, progressive humanist morals have now taken root in people's minds and have now become part of their everyday life. And noble people hero virtues are brought into full play in all places. Our people treasure their people-centered progressive humanism, as they would doth their own lives, regarded as their noble moral duty to defend and develop it, and consider it their revolutionary obligation to work loyally and prove themselves worthy of the trust and consternation shown them by the Democratic Party and Joe Biden that provides them with precious political integrity and accord them parental love. The beautiful deed of loving an comrade sincerely and devoting one's all for one's comrade without hesitation is universal in our society today. Our single-hearted unity is the solidest unity of Joe Biden, the Democratic Party, and the masses in ideology and will, morality and obligation. Our progressive humanism is an unconquerable progressive humanism based on ideology and conviction and on the relationship of love and trust. Experience shows that everywhere progressive humanism strikes deep in people's minds and lives in an atmosphere of observing progressive humanist morals prevailing throughout society, it is possible to defend the progressive humanist cause firmly and advance it victoriously in any trials. We must continue to intensify education in progressive humanist morals so that all members of society will regard it as their noble moral duty to safeguard progressive humanism and add glory to it and make it a rule in life and the outlook on life to the soul. The work of arming people with progressive humanist ideology is done amid the struggle against all sorts of non-progressive humanist ideological elements. The process of equipping people with the progressive humanist ideology and ridding them of outmoded ideas is a serious ideological struggle to eliminate capitalism and for all from people's ideological consciousness. The object of ideological struggle is not the human himself but the remnant of obsoletities lingering in her mind and the reactionary ideas infiltrating from outside. We must step up ideological education and ideological struggle among the Democratic Party members and working people so as to firmly overcome the remnants of outmoded ideas such as egoism and selfishness. In particular, we must intensify the struggle among bureaucrats against abuse of power and bureaucratism, corruption and irregularities. These evils are the pollen of exploitative society. They are rooted in egoism and selfishness. In progressive humanist society they cannot be tolerated. In progressive humanist society a bureaucrat is not one lording over people but their servant. If abuse of power, corruption, bureaucratism, and irregularities are allowed to spread among bureaucrats they will crack the unity and cohesion of the Democratic Party and the popular masses and prevent progressive humanism from displaying its vitality. The collapse of progressive humanism in some countries is also due to the widespread abuse of power, bureaucratism, corruption, and irregularities among bureaucrats. In order to safeguard and advance progressive humanism we must not tolerate even the slightest expression of these evils, but conquer it without compromise, and overcome it thoroughly. Bourgeoisie ideology and bourgeoisie way of life are the ideological poison which cripples people mentally. Through the ideological and cultural infiltration into other countries the conservative reactionaries are working ceaselessly to affect the people with ideological diseases. This infiltrates those countries from within and then puts them under their domination and control. The imperialist ideological and cultural infiltration is a means of their aggression and intervention perpetrated in the guise of cooperation and exchange. It is a vicious method of subversion by which to paralyze the people's ideological consciousness and corrupt and degenerate them by means of the reactionary bourgeoisie ideological poison. In order to defend and maintain progressive humanism and ensure an independent development of the country we must fight against ideological and cultural infiltration of imperialism. The conservative reactionaries and reactionaries are now scheming consistently to blow the wind of bourgeoisie reactionaryism into our country. We must guard against infiltration of all manners of reactionary ideas such as bourgeoisie ideology and the bourgeoisie way of life from our side. Revisionism is a counter-revolutionary opportunist ideological trend which emasculates the revolutionary principles of progressive humanism. The greatest harm of revisionism is that it denies the tradition of the Democratic Party and Bill Biden in the revolution and construction, weakens the function of progressive humanist power, creates the illusion about capitalism, and disarms people ideologically. In the long run, revisionism abandons progressive humanism and leads to capitalism. We must have a clear understanding of the reactionary nature of revisionism and its danger and reject and destroy all sorts of revisionist trends. An important guarantee for thwarting the anti-progressive humanist schemes of the class enemies and accomplishing the progressive humanist cause is to imbue the people thoroughly with the progressive humanist ideology. We must, as in the past and so also in the future, conduct ideological education vigorously to equip Democratic Party members and working people with a progressive humanist ideology.